Yeah. It's going to be on. All right. Anyway. Call to order the meeting of the Verona Plan Commission for Wednesday, April 5th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. Do I have to use the gavel again or no?
You might have to.
We all good? Okay. We will begin with the roll.
Commissioner Tucker Long,
Here.
Commissioner Wood,
Here.
Commissioner Powers,
Here.
Mayor Diaz,
Here.
Alderperson Posey,
Here.
Commissioner Lytle, Commissioner Hankard,
Here.
and also tonight filling in for Carla Fisher is Tyler. Tyler's from AECom. I think, Tyler, you also live in the city, correct? Yep, I live in the city. There we go, and so his specialty is traffic, so any traffic questions can probably go to Tyler.
Traffic comes up sometimes. We will move on to item 3, which is public comment. If any members of the public wish to speak, now would be the time to do so. Seeing nobody approaching the microphone, we'll move on to item 4, which is approve the minutes from the March 6, 2023 Plan Commission meeting. Questions, comments, or motions to approve?
Move approval.
Motion by Alder Posey. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Tucker Long. Last chance for corrections. Seeing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes from the March 6, 2023 Plan Commission meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And the minutes are approved. We'll move on to item 5, which is public hearing and discussion and action regarding a conditional use permit for a day spa located at 524 West Verona Avenue, Suite 107. Before we get into the public hearing, Mr. Sayre, can you give us a brief overview?
Thank you. The property is zoned suburban office, so this is kind of normally this wouldn't come to the Plan Commission, but since it is zoned suburban office, some of those uses, and there are conditional use permits, is because they are typically located closer to residential properties. So this does require a conditional use permit. As part of that, we did publish in the newspaper a Class 2 public hearing notice. We did notify all property owners within 250 feet of the property, and then also place the public hearing notification sign on the property. And this is a recommendation tonight from the Plan Commission to the Common Council. Common Council meets next Monday.
Thank you. And with that, I will move we open the public hearing on this topic. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Tucker Long. All those in favor of opening the public hearing on this topic, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. And we're in the public hearing regarding this topic at 6:33 p.m. Any members of the public wish to comment on this one? Seeing nobody approaching the microphone, I will move to close the public hearing on this topic. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Hankard, I think. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And the public hearing is closed at 6:33 p.m. Mr. Sayre.
Thank you. Once again, this takes a conditional use permit. The applicant is requesting to occupy 550 square feet in a vacant suite that's located in the current building. Nothing on the outside of the site would change. The parking lot would stay the same. The driveway access point would stay the same. Staff has no concerns with this. It's a very small use. It's not taking up much space. We did go through the conditional use permit's findings of facts, and we believe it does meet the requirements for granting a conditional use permit. So with that, staff recommends the Plan Commission recommend the Common Council approval of the conditional use permit to allow a day spa land use at 524 West Verona Avenue. And the applicant is here tonight. He'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions, comments, or motions on this item? Commissioner Lytle, and then Alder Posey.
Just off the top of my head, I'm not recalling, I know there's another day spa that went in on South Main, and I think that's Central Commercial. So is that the difference between it, a conditional, it's a permitted use in Central Commercial?
Correct, yeah. So in Central Commercial, or I think also Suburban Commercial, it's a permitted use. And the intent of the suburban office, I mean, this is a good example. I don't have it on the screen, but I could put it up. You know, this has residential to the north and to the east. So these suburban office properties are typically a little more tighter. Also, the intent of them obviously is less lower impact type uses. So that's why it is a conditional use versus that, where you find it as a higher intensity type use. Part of the reason for this one too, it's pretty small in the size of it versus some of the other ones you see are a few thousand square feet they'll take up.
Thank you.
Alder Posey.
That was actually what I was going to say. I think it's a great spot since it is a smaller day spa in comparison to the other one that just recently went in or services that went in. So I think it's a good spot for this kind of a business.
Other questions, comments, or motions? Commissioner Tucker Long.
I move that we recommend to the Common Council that they approve the conditional use permit to allow a day spa land use at 524 West Verona Avenue.
Motion by Commissioner Tucker Long. Is there a second? Oh, seconded by Commissioner Powers. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of recommending to the Common Council to approve the conditional use permit for the day spa located at 524 West Verona Avenue, Suite 107, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. And that motion passes. We'll move on to item 6, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the condominium plat located at 410 and 420 West Verona Avenue. Mr. Zaire.
Thank you. The property in question is located or highlighted in yellow on the screen before you. The site's currently being redeveloped by North Point Development as a mixed-use project. It's in the process of being wrapped up. It's coming along actually quite nicely. The applicant is requesting a condominium plat that would divide the project into 3 separate units. This is something that we've been aware about as staff. I think since we worked on the development agreement, this came up as part of that development agreement as a ownership structure that they were looking at as part of that. We reviewed this as part of our project. The city attorney actually looked at this one too. We don't have any issues or concerns with this. This is similar to what they did across the street also at the Sugar Creek Commons project as well. So with that, staff recommends the Plan Commission recommend the Common Council approval of the condo plat to create 3 units at 410, 420 West Verona Avenue, and the applicant is here tonight to be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions, comments, or motions on this item? Commissioner Tucker Long.
I move that we recommend to the Common Council that we approve the condominium plat to create 3 units at 410 and 420 West Verona Avenue.
Motion by Commissioner Tucker Long. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Wood. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of recommending to the Common Council to approve the condominium plat located at 410 and 420 West Verona Avenue, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. We'll move on to item 7, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the annexation for approximately 148.5 acres of land in the vicinity of Country View Road. Mr. Sayer.
All right, thank you. We have 2 items on the agenda here tonight for an annexation for some lands that Epic owns. The first one is approximately 148 acres. It is on the western side here, so it's the western portion here that kind of fronts along Country View Road and also includes the right-of-way for Country View Road. Epic is requesting this annexation as they kind of plan for future growth, future development, and future improvements in this area. They're requesting this land be annexed to the city. Staff reviewed it. The proposed annexation is consistent with our boundary agreement. The lands are located in Area A and B of our boundary agreement, so it is consistent with that. This was also reviewed by the state. As part of all annexations, we send these off to the Wisconsin Department of Administration. We have received word from DOA that it is in the public interest to annex the property. Staff has no concerns with the annexation. Like I said, this is consistent with our boundary agreement, and we do recommend the Plan Commission recommend the Common Council approve the request to annex approximately 148 acres to the city of Verona. I know the applicant is here tonight. They'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions, comments, or motions on this item? Oh, Commissioner Powers.
It's all right. I'll just mention I'm abstaining for the next 3 topics as my employer is here.
Thank you for that clarification. I'll make a note of it. Other questions, comments, or motions? Commissioner Hankard.
Just a question, how is it that this came to be? Why wasn't this land initially brought in with, I guess, all of the other land that Epic owns that's in the city? I don't really have a concern, I'm just curious.
Yeah, so Epic owns additional land that's, I'd say, further beyond this land as well, too. So they are in the process of kind of looking at their future growth and development plans. They are growing again. As part of that, we're working on the County Highway PD project right now, and there'll be some additional improvements to Country View Road as well. So as part of this, it comes down to a logistical and also permitting standpoint of when it's in the city, you're then dealing with kind of one entity versus multiple permitting entities. But ultimately, as they kind of expand and the rest of the campus is in the city, it's a lot easier to kind of be working just with the city versus the county and other, possibly the town as well, too. So I think from a logistical standpoint and from our standpoint and probably theirs, it's, long-term, they're continuing to kind of grow and have improvements that way. It made some sense. They didn't own all this land as they've acquired it over the course of years as well. So this isn't what they've owned from the get-go. They continue to purchase and buy land elsewhere too. So it's just part of their kind of growth process.
Great, thank you.
Other questions, comments, or motions? Commissioner Lael.
So just trying to understand the boundaries of the lands that are being annexed, kind of on the west side of Country View Road. It seems like there's a kind of, and I know I always get hung up over islands, but it seems like it's an island of non-City of Verona land there because of the right-of-way that, or looks like right-of-way being annexed. Is there a explanation and confirm that that's kosher given the situation?
Yeah, we can, so as part of the boundary agreement, we can create town islands. That's permissible in the boundary agreement. I think part of those properties too, I think there was some sensitivity with Epic of just, trying to work with the town a little bit as much as they could of there are some homes that are on there. And obviously, sometimes it's a sensitive conversation with the town when they're annexing properties. And I think that was kind of one of their ways they were looking at keeping some of those properties within the township, but then also trying to be effective as they can as they look at their future growth. So those are some smaller kind of islands and houses that are left there that have some values attached to them. I think that was Epic's desire. I believe they own most of those parcels, besides one, or maybe two. So they're pretty close to owning all those parcels as well. But I think there was their attempt to try to, work with the town a little bit and, take what they figured they probably would need for future infrastructure and improvements, but then leave behind what they could that could possibly just kind of help the town out. So there are islands there, but ultimately one day those could potentially be annexed as well, especially if Epic is continuing to acquire those.
Great, and just a quick follow-up. You probably mentioned this in the packet, extending the annexation sort of a little bit to the west on County Highway PD, including the right-of-way, I assume. Is that to facilitate turning lanes and those kind of improvements?
It's kind of the extent of the County Highway PD project that's occurring up there right now. So that's about the limits of where that project starts or ends, depending on where you're going.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Other questions, comments, or motions? Alder Posey, sorry.
Make a motion that we recommend the Common Council approve the request to annex approximately 148.5156 acres of land to the city of Verona.
Motion by Alder Posey. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Lytle. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of recommending to the Common Council to approve the annexation for approximately 148.5 acres of land in the vicinity of Country View Road, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. And let the record show that Commissioner Powers abstained. We'll move on to item 8, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the annexation for approximately 78.1 acres of land in the vicinity of Northern Lights Road. Mr. Sayre.
Thank you. This is the second part of the annexation. This is for the lands that are located adjacent to Northern Lights and south of County Highway PD. It's on the west side of Northern Lights. It's a former non-metallic mine, so if you actually looked at it out there, it's a big hole pit that's in the ground. A good chunk of that is water, and the northern part is just kind of the moonscape of what's left over from the non-metallic mining operations. Once again, this is kind of some more cleanup from a standpoint of Epic has acquired these properties, they're bringing them into the city. You know, staff has no concerns with this. Once again, it's consistent with our boundary agreement. It's located in area A of the boundary agreement. We don't have any concerns with it, neither did DOA. DOA looked at this one also and said it's in the public interest to annex it. It is adjacent to the city. The city is located to the south and also to the east, so we have no concerns with the annexation, and we recommend the Plan Commission, recommend the Common Council approve the annexation to annex approximately 78 acres of land to the city of Verona.
I have one quick question. Who owns the property, like, kind of due west of this? Yeah,
Mowers.
ours, okay. Other questions, comments, or motions? Commissioner Tucker Long.
I have a quick question. There's just, looks like a tiny strip of Shady Oak Lane between the parts we would be annexing. Is there going to be any issues with just a tiny bit of Shady Oak Lane there being still in the town?
So all of Shady Oak is in the town. So that roadway from County Highway PD up until off the map as you kind of make the turn, that's actually that's in the city. That was annexed as part of the Marty Farm property.
But,
Right.
like, south of that.
Yeah, but south of that from County PD to the land that's being annexed,
There's no road south of here. There's no public right of way there.
Okay.
It's a
It's a
driveway
driveway.
that serves the
Okay,
landscape.
perfect.
Yeah, no, there's no public right of way
I
in
thought
there
there
at
was
all.
just a teeny bit of the road continuing on.
No. Nope.
Okay. In that case, then, I would like to move that we recommend to the Common Council that they approve the request to annex approximately 8.1096 acres of land to the city of Verona.
Motion by Commissioner Tucker Long. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Wood. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of recommending to the Common Council to annex approximately 78.1 acres of land in the vicinity of Northern Lights Road, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. And let the record show that Commissioner Powers abstained from the vote. We will move on to item 9, which is a discussion and possible action regarding a site plan review for 2 temporary parking lots located at 1979 Milky Way. Mr. Sayre.
Thank you. Epic is requesting approval of 2 temporary parking lots. There are the areas that they're looking at putting these parking lots are circled in yellow on the screen before you. Epic has raised the concern just with their growth that it's occurring on the campus today, and then what they're projecting out, that they're concerned just about how much parking they're going to have on the property, and they're starting to run out of space. A lot of the employees out there are still doubled up, and for what the types of parking ramps that they build, you can't build those overnight. They take a significant amount of time. So they are looking at these 2 lots in the screen before you, and then quite honestly, potentially a third one that might come back to you here coming in May as well, just because they're concerned just about the number of employees they have on campus, and then you start factoring in contractors actually working on buildings and future buildings, and then people there potentially for training and anything else. It's starting to get tighter than what they had anticipated and planned for. So they have these 2 lots that they're looking at putting in. These would be temporary. From Epic's standpoint, not to speak for them, but I know this is not the ideal situation, what they prefer to do, but there's a concern out there just not having enough spaces for people. So they have these as a temporary option until they get these parking ramps built or where they can park additional people. The north lot would have 676 stalls. This is an area that already has been scraped off and kind of heavily utilizes lay down for equipment and used by contractors already for the construction process. And then the second area, this would be kind of south of the farm campus, it would have 376 stalls. And once again, that's located in the blue area before you. The goal here is, like I said, is to kind of have about a 3-year window here until they get some additional ramps built and put in place, and obviously those haven't been approved by us yet, but those will be coming here it will be coming here in the future. But the clear intent of these is temporary in nature only. I know we had a little bit of kind of discussion about the lighting. We had an email about lighting and concerns about that. Both of these lots would have lighting in them. They would be lit. Epic's sensitive to the nature of that as well. So the goal here is not to overlight these and light them up like Christmas lights, but the intent here is to try to make an ample enough lighting out there where it's a safe environment, but also to ensure that they're not generating concerns for the neighbors as well. So that's a sensitive item for them as well, along with kind of just from a safety standpoint too. Staff has looked at this, and we think this is probably a smart solution, temporary solution at least, to kind of help solve the current problem. I think as we looked at it, this isn't a typical parking lot layout that is kind of allowed by us. It is temporary in nature, so we have some specific conditions that we would recommend with these to ensure that they are temporary. Epic has indicated repeatedly that these are temporary. The goal is not to have these be permanent. They are a temporary feature to be have there. So staff doesn't have any concerns with it, and we do recommend the Plan Commission approve the site plan for both the north and farmyard parking lots with the following conditions. One, the parking lots may be utilized until December 31st of 2026. So once again, putting dates on these that they are temporary in nature. Two, if the parking lots are not vacated and removed by December 31st of 2026, all site plan requirements for permanent parking lots shall be installed by the applicant no later than December 31st of 2026, and these items include landscaping, parking lot islands, lighting, and charging stations. The applicant is aware of these. Their intent is to get additional parking built as fast as they can, but that kind of addresses kind of if there's any concerns about these being there forever, we'll have conditions in place. Just for the record too, Epic, over the course of my 10 years here, everything Epic has said they would do, they've done. They've followed through, typically above and beyond everything that they've kind of promised to us, whether it's been landscaping, anything of that nature. So I don't have any concerns. Epic has just an incredible track record. When they say they're going to do something, they do it. And just on top of that as well, obviously, we also have the dates in here too. So staff is comfortable with this. We think it's a reasonable solution that will head off potential future issues if this isn't here. If we don't approve these, there is the risk that at some point these parking issues could potentially spill into those neighborhoods, which is not what anybody wants. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions on this one.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions, comments, or motions on this item? Commissioner Tucker Long.
Have these temporary lots been evaluated for like flooding instances and things like that?
Yeah, they're going to take all the stormwater requirements will be required as part of that, and AECom has already started working with them and looking at that. So they're going to need to meet all the requirements for that. From a flooding standpoint, they all kind of sit pretty high. But from more of a stormwater standpoint and water quality standpoint, they're still going to have to hit those requirements.
Other questions or comments or motions? Commissioner Haggard. Oh, and then Alder Posey.
The other solution to parking problems is carpooling or in buses or shuttling. Was any of that at all looked at? I realize people come from a million different directions, but there's also a decent amount of people, if I'm not mistaken, that come from Madison.
Yep.
Does that make a dent in things here? Or?
Makes a dent. I mean, I think part of the issue is still a capacity issue on buses. I mean, there's only so many buses that go around, and it's a matter of some people don't want to ride a bus as well. I mean, so it's also a personal preference. I mean, it's like any job or employer, you can't. It's difficult to say you have to take a bus to your place, but ultimately, the bus issue is a challenge out there that remains kind of a challenge of just how many buses, and then ultimately capacity has been a problem. That's been ongoing for many years. That's nothing new.
Okay. I will say, I mean, I work on many projects where busing is made mandatory, so it's not that's not entirely true, but I certainly understand everything you
I'll
said.
restate that from our standpoint. The city can't sit there and require an employer to bus their employees. I guess I misspoke on how I said that. From a city ordinance standpoint, we can't require people that you have to take a bus. We have minimum, maximum parking standards.
But do we, and again, I am not trying to make waves here, I'm just, what if we didn't approve these?
You're going to have some issues out there with people parking in the neighborhoods. And that's what we had about
There's
10
nothing we can do about that, I suppose, right? I mean, people can come and they can park in those neighborhoods if,
public streets.
right, it's a public street, and then you walk over that little trail, and,
Then you'll have people crossing the road as well, so then you have additional potential risk there as well, too.
right, so there's, yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
I guess I have a question for the applicant. Oh, sorry, no, Alder Posey, then me. I remember taking notes.
Thanks. So just for clarification, I assume people will be assigned to these lots? It's not kind of, no, it's, because my concern and my question has to do with, I'll just keep on rolling, how access to these lots, knowing that these are smaller roads leading to them, and are people going to be trying to get into these lots knowing they're the new lots and they're going to get a spot, or how does that work with the parking out there?
No assigned parking lots or spaces, but the approaches are the same that currently exist today. From the south is Farmyard campus will be utilized the same route, and from the north and the north lot, primarily from Hubble Road. We're currently working on on-campus busing and our shuttle service as well, so that will be part of this too. And the construction of the new ramps, we anticipate starting as early as June. So, but just to Mike's comment earlier about transportation or alternative means, it certainly is on our radar, and we're working on that. We just authored a letter in support of Madison Metro as late as yesterday for additional grant funding. Bigger and bolder relationship with the bus rapid transit. We've added additional routes out there this year. We want to add more, so they're trying to strike that balance. They're purchasing additional buses as part of the bus rapid transit, the longer articulating buses, the electric ones, so we're looking forward to that and increased ridership. We estimate in that range of as much as 20% alternative transportation and or employees that are there that do not drive. So either bus, bike, walk, or some other means, but as much as 20%. So we know it's there, we're working on it, but as Adam indicated, it's a balancing act for Epic.
Well, it's very useful for me to know that half of the equation is being looked at, so thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Posey?
Other question. So is this the upper one, the north one, is that the current one for construction staff? And will there be a different one for them? Or?
No, so the current one for construction staff is just west of there.
Okay.
And that will remain for some time. That location that's going to be developed into a parking lot is currently a laydown area for construction material,
Okay.
some soil and supplies. That is just a yard.
Yeah.
So it's a high, flat surface that is going to be as close as we can get to current campus, which is a challenge as well. We want it to
Yeah.
be close enough so people don't have to go too far, and that commute to their particular campus is as short as possible.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear the idea of a shuttle bus is in there, because I know that some of those are a little far from buildings.
Currently working on that.
And winter
So what
will
that's
be
gonna
really
look like.
cold.
For sure, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Calling on myself, I had a question. So, not to ask you to speak for Madison Met, but if Epic asked for more, like buses or routes, would Madison Met be able to meet that capacity, or are they kind of tapped because they don't have the?
Currently, they're tapped, and we have asked. So the ask was filled with 2 additional trips, 1 for each route. But we're continuing to work with them. They've been out the last 2 weeks, toured a meeting again next week. So I think as part of the bus rapid transit, that relationship is being enhanced. And also looking at as campus continues to grow and grows further to the west, the possibility of actually having their bus on site to transport staff within campus, like dedicated to campus. So it's a possibility. Taking a look at different options there as we continue to grow to the west. So,
Gotcha. Well, it's good to hear you guys are working together, and
yeah,
I would love a BRT route in Verona.
yeah.
Commissioner Lightoff.
So this might be picking on you, it might be picking on Adam. Adam mentioned in his staff report that this is kind of driven by you all having to double up in offices and that kind of thing. I mean, over time, you've done such a great job of planning for parking. Is this more about having to cram more staff into existing space as opposed to more people driving than you originally planned? Or, it's sort of, this is getting ahead of the additional campus being built, but it's driven by just just staff count?
The latter. They're talking as netting as many as 1,700 for '23.
Wow.
So it's just trying to keep pace with the growth and the speed at which the growth is occurring. So, and their ideal double up of offices is somewhere in that 20% range, and it's significantly higher than that now. So that's part of the push as well.
Okay.
So one of the changes in construction that's coming this summer is they're going to build both campus 6 and 7 simultaneously. So historically, it's been Fendorf will work on one building and Cullen will work on the other. This time around, it appears as though it's going to be both. So it's high gear. There's going to be a lot of construction that's occurring now, and it's going to be busy for a while. So we're trying to move as quickly as we can, and staffing shortages for contractors and those challenges, and routing and trying to keep construction traffic away from daily commuters as well. So
Sure.
a lot of moving parts.
So typically, a temporary use, there's also a plan for what it looks like after the temporary use is over. Is that part of plans that Epic has submitted? Is that something we need to specify? I mean, I'm assuming you're going to try to return the farmhouse, farmyard setup back to a recreation court, not knowing what the growth plans are for the current contractor lot that's going to be the north temporary lot. You know,
Yeah, I can't guarantee if it'll be returned to the, to a recreation lot, because that's, alternatives are being worked on right now, which may be better options and may be liked more so by those that use it better than we currently do. This was just part of the problem-solving process. It just appeared to be a viable, logical option. If the structure was already there and in place, and it was engineered so that it would hold the additional weight on top, if we remove the earth, it's already concrete. You have 300 some parking stalls. So it just made a lot of sense from that perspective. And then the other location, as I mentioned earlier, was high ground, already a flat surface, and as close as we could get. So it wouldn't take much at all to return both to their original state, and that's what the plan is.
and Adam, you know, you stated that if it were a unknown user, we'd probably have more concerns, but, you know, will there be, I mean, as part of a review at the city, either at staff or at Plan Commission and council level, any approvals needed for signing off on what they're returning these locations back to?
Probably not. I mean, ultimately, if it goes back to some type of open space on top of that parking structure and the north one, it could be a contractor's yard again, or it could be restored. I mean, yeah, no, it's going to be handled at the staff level. We'll bring Plan Commission back in if all of a sudden, you know, they can't hit those dates for some reason, then obviously we're going to take a look at this and have that conversation, possibly with an extension with that. But no, how it's going to be returned, no. We weren't involved in the initial conversation of that being a soccer field today, you know, what is it today, so.
Yeah, just to emphasize, the parking lots are temporary fix because we see that it's necessary, but they're not desired. And that's why the rest of the parking structures that you see there have natural grass, earth plantings on top by design. And that's what the desire is to return farmyard to, so that the appearance is that nobody knows it's there unless you know what's under there, right? Visitors have no idea that there's a parking structure underneath there. And that's what the desire is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any concerns with Epic, but, you know, if it were another owner and they had to demolish a parking lot and they just left piles of asphalt at that spot, I don't see that happening, but, you know, just making sure that we're at least somewhat consistent in how we, you know, make sure that at the end of the temporary use, there's an acceptable site. But again, not something that I feel like we need to hold you to, given the condition of all the rest of your facilities, so.
Yeah,
thank
I'll
you.
just use as an example the eastern piece of the property that was annexed as well, that was the quarry in the mining. The whole southern half is being used for geothermal. That northern half is in the process of being reclaimed. So shaping the slopes, topsoil, plantings, to restore it to closer to its original state, as opposed to leaving it vacant with a big hole in the ground. So that's the desire. It will not be piled up as rubble and left there. Not a chance. So, sure.
As long as the applicant's up here, any other questions for the applicant? Okay, cool. Other questions or comments or motions on this item? Commissioner Tucker Long. Oops. Yes. Whoops.
In that case, I will move that we approve the site plan for the north and farmyard parking lots with the following conditions. 1, the parking lots may be utilized until December 31st, 2026. And 2, if the lots are not vacated and removed by December 31st, 2026, all site plan requirements for a permanent parking lot shall be installed by the applicant no later than December 31st, 2026. These items include landscaping, parking lot islands, lighting, and charging stations.
Motion by Commissioner Tucker Long. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Hankard. Motion before the body. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the site plan review for 2 temporary parking lots located at 1979 Milky Way with the conditions specified signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion passes. And of course, let the record show that Commissioner Powers abstained from this vote. We'll move on now to item 10, which is a discussion and possible action regarding the site plan review for a proposed 20,000 square foot flex industrial building addition located at 310 Locust Drive. Mr. Sayre.
Thank you. The property in question is highlighted on yellow in the screen before you. It's currently a building on the site. The applicant is looking to expand in the rear of it, so that'd be the west side of the building. When this building was originally constructed about 25 years ago, there was an expansion that was contemplated. Ultimately, they never went forward with it, but now we have a new owner who's looking at expanding onto this building. So once again, the addition would be located off the rear of the site. The existing parking lot, which kind of currently wraps the current site, would basically just be extended and wrapped along the back side. So it would be kind of a mirror image of kind of what's there today, except kind of extending out further along it. The property currently has 32 parking stalls. The proposal would add approximately 37 new parking stalls to the site. Initially, staff doesn't have any concerns with the parking and with the layout out there. It's a flex industrial site. It's the parking is typical of what we see on a lot of these projects, and parking is use-based as well. The applicant has not identified any specific uses that would be in this building, but I think it's probably safe to anticipate maybe one fitness use in there. There was a former gymnastics studio that was in this building, and they've moved out and relocated elsewhere in the city, so there is some space in there right now. But staff doesn't have any concerns with the building itself. The design off the back here would match kind of what the front is as well. Staff doesn't have any concerns with it. This western side, once again, it faces into one of our older industrial parks. The building itself would match what's there, which is probably the best option that you have at this point to try to make it look seamless and like it was done at the same time. So we don't have any concerns with the design of it. Overall, we're supportive of looking at this as an expansion. We look forward to kind of additional details on this. So with that, we do recommend the Plan Commission review the submitted materials and provide feedback to the applicant. There's no motion tonight, and the applicants are here tonight. We'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions or comments on this item? Commissioner Powers.
The garage doors on the rendering of that last picture, they're 2 different colors on purpose? Is that the plan, or am I just imagining it? Maybe one exists already and I'm understanding.
I'm Jerry Burke, one of HSI or Dimension 4 Associates, and no, they'll be the same colors as what's there already, whatever, it's just the way the rendering came out.
I got you, okay.
Other feedback? Alder Posey.
So having been in that lot during drop-off and pickup times for the former gymnastics studio that was there, knowing, and then there is a cheer gym, I believe, that went in there. Just considering what usage and the sight lines for traffic around there, because the parents used to just line up and take over that whole lot. So that could be a bit of a concern for any other tenants that you have in there. I know it wasn't an issue with the current tenants and timing, but that could be something down the road if you're expanding out the back and anybody else wants that usage. It could become a problem with the parking and pickup and everything else during those times. So something to be aware of.
Other feedback? Commissioner Lytle and then myself.
So I didn't try to do the math, or maybe the stats are in there. It seems like between parking lot and building, the coverage is quite high for this lot, but that's still compliant with the 80% for suburban industrial.
Mr. Sayre?
At this time, we think it is. That's one of the items we'll look at in more detail as it gets closer.
Okay,
But I believe it is at this point.
thank you.
It is close, though.
Calling on myself, yeah, I just, great to see a piece of land get used efficiently. I do like how the building looks. And I will just, as a friendly reminder, if you agree to have the garage doors a certain color, make sure you can commit to that, because we will hold you to it. We held a different applicant to the garage door color, and they were not happy about it. So just telling people up front.
Okay.
Other feedback? Seeing no feedback, was there anything else that we need to cover, Mr. Sayre? Okay. With that, we will move on to, thank you. We'll move on to item 11, reports and comments from the planning department. Mr. Sayre.
I don't have too much tonight. Just a couple of reminders more on logistics and meeting dates. So we'll have, the next planning commission meeting will be May 1st. Then we'll have a planning commission June 5th, and then the July meeting is going to be held on June 27th. So we did move that this year just because of the holiday. I think the 4th fell on like a Tuesday, and this meeting would have fallen on the Monday, which was just a complete disaster for probably everybody. So just as a reminder that check the dates, check your calendars, make sure you have that up to date because the dates are a little bit different. So that's all I had.
Any questions for Mr. Sayre? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 12, which is adjournment. A motion to adjourn would be in order.
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Alder Posey. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Powers. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. And we're adjourned at 7:13 p.m. Thank you, everyone.